Yeah, so thank you, Tim, and thank you for the invitation. And I think it's extremely important to know that what actually we did, without knowing we did, was right. So Lifelink is actually a result of some of the discussion we had this morning, and actually just few clarification before I give the presentation. We are focusing in Africa and developing country, which is a very complex than Copenhagen or Stockholm or other places to do this kind of innovations. Just a few words about the company. Grundfos was founded in 1945. We are world leading manufacturer of pump and pump solutions. We are producing almost 16 million pumps, and we are today almost 18,000 across 56 countries. And this is also family-owned company. Before I move to the presentation, I will just tell you a story, how this innovation started. The son of the founder, Niels Du Jensen, he's 70 years old, and he's the chairman of our foundation. He was in Thailand for almost 10 years ago. He is very social oriented. He would like to see village. So he entered the village, look at the, always interested in the water supply, and so, wow, there is a pump and there is a water borehole. But it was collapsed. There's not functioning, and people went to the very dirty river and picked the water from the dirty river. And he tried to figure out why this was collapsed. One of the main areas that they mentioned to him was actually lack of O&M, lack of service. He came back home, gathered engineers, and gave them one task. I would like to have an innovation deal with the social, financial, and environmental sustainability. So after 1 year, we had the first Lifelink solution, which I will come back. But if we look at the water service providers' challenges in developing countries in general, revenue collection is the number one, which means they're actually using 14% in commercial losses. So, well, if we translate it to the US dollar, we are talking about $2.6 billion annually. I visited Tanzania recently, and I had a meeting with the water utility there, and the CEO was proudly said to me, his water commercial losses monthly is $2 million. I mean, imagine Tanzania, very poor country, there is a lot of lack of water, and he's losing $2 million. So revenue collection is very huge issue. And then taking the urbanization, there is a lot of people moving from the villages to cities. Can we find a solution that can scale? This is one of the major issues for innovation, to scale innovation in different areas. And the last one is actually water service management. Can we provide the tools that the water service provider, regardless of the utilities or NGOs, whatever, they can see the performance and have a data to measure how this works? If we look at what is the missing links, so if we look at the missing links, is water is scarce, and everybody knows. There has been a lot of report, but there is no proper tools to manage the water. This is the big issues. And also financial viability of the operation is second major issue for water supply. And O&M and access to the spare parts and maintenance. This is, again, one of the biggest issue. And also improving capacity to expand water service delivery to places that there is no services. Here we are talking about slums, because normally we're traveling in Africa, we are visiting the big cities, we are sitting in the hotel, we say, oh, there is always energy and always water. But if you just move 10 minutes from city center of Nairobi, you have a slums that host almost 1.2 million people, has no access to basic services. And then using the renewables. I mean, in Africa, there's still, when I'm seeing that diesel is being used, I get really furious, because we have a lot of potential using renewables and solars. Well, this is the third generation of the Lifelink system. This is the simple, actually, I always admire the Africans. We used a lot of time to find the name for this one. And we come up with the ACTAPs. The first time we installed them is the Madare slum in Kenya. They said, oh, this is water ATM. This actually makes sense. This actually makes sense because you upload your credit on this blue cards, and then you put it in the machine, and you don't get the money, but you get the water out of the machine. So this is actually water ATM. And then you, at the same time, you have a monitoring system that you monitor all the data on consumptions, revenue, failures, whatever. But if we look at the discussion about service, this is actually providing not water, but financial services. Because when we discussed it with a lot of people and the donors, we said, you're providing water, but at the same time, this is providing financial. How? There is 4 billion mobile subscribers globally. 75% of them have no access to bank account. What this provides is people using their mobile, uploading the credit on the card, and actually using the machine for paying for the service. So this is actually kind of financial services also. We would like to change the game. This is what we actually in Grundfos decided to do. We would like to move from product focus, small scale, water is free for everyone, to big scale and much focused on the services. It has been a very, very educational journey because what we discussed this morning, and I think challenges here is the mindset changing amongst the people and also the partners that we are working with. So I take it from Tim, this one. Last time he did an excellent presentation. If you look at the eco-innovation of that Lifelink system, is actually, this is the innovative product that actually integrated maintenance and services in its offering and business model. This is really extremely important. This is not only we just providing one system, but we integrated the service in the product itself. If we look at the traditional water supply in Africa is low-cost solution. Everybody could talk about low-cost solution. You imagine this is hand pumps. So we have hand pumps or water being trucked and put it in the tanks, and people come and fetch it and paying the cash and so on and so on. Then 2009, we developed the first generation, which is called Lifelink 1 and Lifelink 2. But actually the first time we offer the service, not only the product, but O&M service. They say, okay, we would like to take care of the operation and maintenance, and this is the part of the offering we are giving you, and also focus on the service life cycle. And the second or third generation, now I show the picture, as actually we've been really challenged by a lot of partners, because this is the comes also partnership in, because the third helicopter view said to us, your number 1 and number 2 was too expensive on the cost, so you have to bring the cost down. So we bring the cost down almost 80% when we developed third generation. The same feature, better product, but we did a very great job. So a lot of people ask how you could do that. Now we are producing almost all the equipment, all the spare parts by ourselves, so we don't outsource it more. Then we look at the financial sustainability of these solutions, because there has been a lot of discussion about how we can do it this more financial viable. So again, on the hand pump side, there was a little finance for maintenance or non-existing. There is today, actually I saw one report from the World Bank, there's 50,000 water points in Africa is not functioning after 2 or 3 years. And this is only one reason. This is lack of O&M, and this is again lack of financing. The people collected the money, this is cash involved. We are human beings. You always forgot which pocket was mine or which pocket was the villages. Then days come to the maintenance, there is no money for the maintenance. So in the first and second generation, we built actually the closed payment system that people use their mobile, pay for the water, and money digitally transferred to the bank account, nobody has access. But for this 1 and 2, we did a big mistake. What we did is we entered the service, then said, okay, we would like to be service provider, equipment provider, and also take care of the O&M. That agreement we have still, because we are committed with 10 years agreement in Africa, in Kenya, but we find out after 2-3 years, well, it was not so clever, because we are not good at O&M, and water service delivery is not Grundfos' core business. So this is the lessons learned that I mentioned. Learning service is not our core business. But the third generation is actually we mobilizing our partners, which means here, in this case, is, I'm coming back to this one, is Nairobi Water, or it could be NGO, or it could be our distributor to take care of the service delivery and O&M. So we are not engaged in O&M more, but we really enabling to our partner to do the service. As I mentioned, we, again, lessons learned from the generation 1 and 2. I just forgot to tell you, this is not CSR project now. This is core, hardcore business. So I just mentioned with some of you say, this is one of the sustainability projects we're working on. This is hardcore business. So just bear in this mind. What we did is actually lower the life cycle costs and the equipment costs so people can afford to buy it. And again, the whole R&D around the third generation has been they must have a lower O&M costs. That which means that, again, this was one of the target, and also transparency of the operations, which means you have from here, you can actually monitor the all 40 or 50 projects in Kenya. You don't go to the site, you can by your computer see how the performance of all systems. You cannot cut off, but you can monitor the data. This is an easy to use and affordable price. What the Nairobi Water did was extremely important. What they did is say, okay, by collecting revenue, 100% efficient, we will bring the price in the slums from 3 shillings for 20 liter is 2 cents US cent. We will just charge 0.5 cents. And then for the people was, okay, by bringing this innovation, we can get water cheaper. So they adopt innovation very fast. They really was very fast to say, okay, this is the cost benefit. By paying for the water, closed system, we can see the price of the water all the time. That water price also will be brought down. We talked about a lot of sustainability, and we are working on 4 different sustainability dimensions. Technical sustainability, so again, by monitoring remotely, get the data and analyze the data, we can better deal with the technical issues around the Lifelink systems, so that we can really take the action. This is like the flight check-in. If there is something happen with the system, even is the Masai Mara, they send an SMS to the technicians that something is wrong with the system, so we can really take action, or our service provider can take really action. Social sustainability, providing safe water. I mean, this has really improved the life conditions for the people. And they can go to education, they can work, women not as sick more because they're getting their safe water. So social sustainability is also important. Of course, environmental sustainability, because we are using the solar. This is, I'm putting environmental sustainability at that one. And then financial sustainability, that really through collecting efficient revenue that you can deal with the O&M, you can also have a kind of collect the money for the replacement later on. But 4 dimension cannot work alone if you don't look at the business model itself. Water service delivery and supply in Africa is, and also developing country, is very complex. They engage a lot of stakeholders. You have a government, they are legally come with legislation. Legal framework, was what you as easy to say. And the price, because they decide what is the price. You have the utility, if there's a utility provide the water, or if the NGO provide the water, or you have the donor as funding, and then you have our distributor as O&M partner and service provider. So we have to really look at all stakeholders and bring them together if we would like to have a sustainable service delivery. Is it easy? No, it is not easy. It is most complex that bring everybody with different agenda together and do the sustainable project. But we get done, and it works very well. We said partnership beyond the product, service, and know-how, because normally, if you're familiar with the water supply in general in Africa, is much built on the transactional, which means you have a bid, I win, I lose, then this is done. I was in conference in Stockholm, but the topic was build to last, and the guy kept the speech and said, yeah, build, run, and hope. So this is really not build, run, and hope. This is really build and stay together with the partnership and fix the problem. This is the really partnership is matter in all projects that we are doing in developing countries. It is maybe different in the industrial country, but for developing countries, extremely important we are in the partnership. And also we understand, when we did the third generation development, we consult from the village, the government, NGO, donors, industry, how the third generation should look like. We didn't do it in Biambru by ourselves and say, now we have the solution, let's push it to market. We really consult with every single people on the ground. Are we doing right? Is the features okay? How you think this display should look like? So we did a lot of investigation, and the third generation was actually a result of this consultation. So partnership is actually extremely important to really do successful innovation and projects. Some of the cases we have, this is the Madare slum in Kenya. We did 4 projects. We're scaling up for, hopefully, within 2 weeks to 100. And people, as I mentioned, it was extremely, extremely happy with it. And I think one of this presentation this morning talked about the branding. It was been in BBC, it was in Chinese TV. Really, they create a lot of awareness because the people say, oh, this is water ATM. They never heard about the water ATM. So this really boosts Grundfos brand and image. And this is the same. And this is the 40 project we have in Kenya, actually up and running, and we are committed to 10 years operation and maintenance. We stick with them, even they give us a lot of deficit, but we are there. We have promised, and we will stick with them. And I just summed this one up. We discussed about the civilization. This is from Uganda. Jesus Care supermarket, this is branding. And this, he has the restaurant and butcher at the same time. So supermarket, butcher, and the restaurant. I think it was so amazing to see, well, you have to keep it simple, huh? So don't do it so complicated. Thank you very much.
Beautiful. Many thanks, Rasoul. Very nice. It's stopped working. So, any questions for Rasoul? See, we're moving from the product to product and circularity over to a product service system, and how to expand on a very, very solid existing business into venture. Any questions to how this is going on? Good. When was the start?
The first one started actually 2008. Sorry?
When was the idea born in the company?
2007.
Right.
So.
Oh. Can I make myself heard anyhow? Perhaps I shout. When you have exported technology in this way, and you have developed also with services and so on, do you also see an opportunity to bring that technology development that is driven by the less developed countries to the other parts of the world, so that you bring perhaps more frugal innovation into our systems?
translated to the more developed countries?
Yeah, I mean, you adjust your technology to suit a different market. Could you also see that would be beneficial for your earlier markets?
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, again, I have three colleagues from here, from our sustainability department and water utility department. I mean, we are doing that all the time, but this one's been actually born from some challenges that we faced with the water supply in developing countries. But that we can bring this learning to other solutions and products, absolutely, because this has been a journey for us. And I think that we can, I mean, lessons learned again from that one. We did 1 and 2 when I said we cut the cost to 80%, because the first one was developed in Biambro without any consultation. We pushed it to the market. And then we found out, why there's not a scaling. And then we did go back to the market and we learned lesson. And I think this is extremely important for the future market, and see what you learned, the good and bad, and really scale it up. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Hi. Yeah. How does this solution then play in the minds of the governments that you're based on, in terms of the longer term goal? I guess is to end up with a pipes utility service, I would think. So I presume they see this as a stepping stone, and at what stage on that journey between having a very poor service to having a pipe service, where does this fit on that stage?
Undiplomatic answer, actually the government, the area we are really focusing is not government focus, which means the rural water supply, and especially is the slums. So the government actually seeing that as a complementary to that actually see, but one of the pictures you saw, that was a governor of Kenya, Nairobi, that actually together with us celebrating, now it just comes to the slums. The government only, consultation with government is only on the price, that how much we should, but it is really complementary for the government policy on the access to wash. So we are really targeting the area that government or even water utilities is not reaching.
A great example where you're not only talking about environmental but social innovation. But I'm really puzzled because you created also a micro-payment system, which you could actually create a whole new business around, about selling lamps or even lending out Lego blocks or whatever you can do. Isn't that, it's probably completely outside of your scope, but it's asked for other partners that pick that up, I guess. Or
great question, and I didn't mention, we are working with a partner without mentioning the name, and they're actually saying, well, around this one innovation and solution, there is a lot of incentives. One is actually when we discussed about the payment for water, we've been challenged from day one, especially from the government, especially from the donors, that, well, poor people cannot afford to pay the water. The World Bank came up with the report, I think it was 2010. The average African spent between $10 to $15 a month on charging their mobiles. Okay? So, if you put it in this, beside this business model and say, okay, you can fetch the water and you charge your mobile free of charge, or you charge your mobile for $1 and get water free of charge, you see, you create a lot of incentives. And the partner we are talking about, actually, they will provide health facilities, they will provide internet connectivity, selling the water, taking the shower. I mean, really, they're building a really business around one solution. Absolutely, it's extremely important. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. You said the first generation was you were basically running the O&M, and that was not a good idea. And then you moved that out to local partners. And how do you control the local partners that actually the O&M is running, actually the supply is going on? Is that purely by managing the financials, basically that system? Or what are the other handles you have to basically keep your partners running the business for you, helping you?
Excellent question. I have no right answer. Yeah, I mean, For the partner, we do the due diligence. So when we select, we call a distributor, that we have a due diligence they have to pass before we select them. But are these partners in Mogadishu doing the right job? If we ask them, they say yes, but then come partnership in the picture. Because the partnership is actually the partner can contact us directly. So they say, well, look, this service provider not providing the service. There's been actually a few cases that your distributor is not acting, behaving like your distributor. So then we can take action. But we are 56 countries. This we can control because there's our people. Then beside that, we have maybe 130 countries that we have distributors. This is very difficult to control. But again, the data collection, I didn't mention so much this one. We are working on the big data analysis, which means we have all the data in our server, this is anonymous. By actually analyzing the data, you can also see the pattern of the failures. So see which kind of have been this reported back to us. Do we have any information on these ones? So by analyzing this data, I think we will be much more able to control than we are today, actually.
Perfect.
Great.
I know a couple of guys in the audience who'd like to talk about big data, I think. Many thanks, Rasoul.
Thank you. Thank you.